about to have an interesting interview with an influencer that's top-notch, with lots of followers. And part of the reason is because him and his wife talk a lot about life in the DR.
I know that.
That's very important. That type of YouTubing gets a lot of hits. Because, listen, nothing like hearing from a foreigner, from an expat, what life is like on the ground. Before moving, it's the first thing everyone should do. And they give a very realistic point of view of what happens. It's not a sales pitch. They're giving it to you as it is. And they also give many tips on how to make life here, you know, a lot more comfortable for those who are just arriving and are not acclimated yet. So, we're gonna be interviewing James. I'm sure you've seen his wife Norberry's. Okay, I just have to say this because I need to embarrass Omar. Norberry's, Omar is starstruck with you guys. Omar is our conference coordinator, and he heads up our editorial team. He's starstruck. Norberry's and James are coming. What should I wear? I'm like, clothes, Omar, okay? Anyway, but they're amazing people. They do a lot to help expats. Norberry's does she provides logistical assistance for people that are looking to relocate, which is important because, you know, we provide legal services, we talk about investments, we do banking, but they're like, so what car should I buy? Where can I get a housekeeper? And I'm like, no. You're so barking up the wrong tree. But that's what she does. She basically helps for foreigners to get set up here in the Dominican Republic, and that's an amazing service. Because it's very hard for people who don't speak the language, who have no ties to the country, to get around, you know, to be able to navigate life here, the ins and outs. So she's married to an expat, so she has a soft spot for expats. So she helps them out, and that's a very important service. So if any of you in the future are looking to relocate, that's your girl. From where to shop for furniture to who to get as a housekeeper, she's there. Very, very valuable service. So we're gonna invite James up here. He's gonna be with Omar. I'm sure he didn't sleep last night. I'm interviewing James. So they're gonna talk about the Dominican Republic, you know, the transition. What are some of the challenges, suggestions on those of you who do want to relocate here? So James, come on out.
So we're here with James. I talked with him and I asked him to do a presentation, and we were talking, and he was like, man, I don't know if I have 45 minutes in me. And so I was like, okay, well let's try to do an interview style or interview format. So I'm gonna try to do my best Arsenio Hall impression and interview James. So first off, give us a little introduction about yourself, where you're from in the U.S.
Okay, my name is, well, first I want to thank Maria for giving me that nice introduction. I've never had an introduction like that before. So. But I'm from Mobile, Alabama. I went to school at Alabama A&M in Huntsville, Alabama. Got a forest management degree there. Don't ask me what I did with it because I don't know. In the Dominican Republic. I ended up working in HR for a company there for about 15 years. And when I left there, when I decided to leave there, I decided to come over here to the Dominican Republic.
Okay. And so how long have you been living in the DR so far?
Well, we came over here in 2000, well, let me go back. When I was working in HR, I just got kind of fed up working the corporate 9 to 5. Wanted to do something different. Saw that my life was really just spinning on a wheel, doing the same thing over, being redundant. So me and my wife decided, hey, let's come over here in 2015. Let's open up a restaurant and hair salon, and we did that. And for whatever reason that didn't work out, And after a year, we moved back actually not to Alabama, we went back to Florida and in 2016, and we came back here in 2021. So we've been there for about 3 years now.
Okay. And what made you decide to move permanently? Because at this point, you're more or less permanent.
Right.
From the U.S. to the DR. Like, what made you make that decision?
Well, like I said, I was just tired of the U.S., tired of the things that I saw happening and going on, tired of the 9 to 5, and just wanted something different. And of course, my wife is Dominican, and I've known her for maybe about 15 years now. So during that time, I had been coming back and forth over here at least once or twice a year at that time. So I just enjoyed the country and always wanted to visit here. And then when I got the opportunity to live here, that was it.
Okay. And how much planning was involved in the move? Like,
not really a lot of planning involved, except for the fact when we moved back over there from here in 2016, when the restaurant and the salon didn't work out. The only thing that we had on our mind is, what can we do to earn money online and remotely, where we didn't have to be physically at a job or dependent on the Dominican economy. And I can tell you, running a restaurant was a really tough business. We had to always be there, and it was just a tough business. I didn't want to come back over here to have to depend on the Dominican economy to pay us. So basically, when we went back in 2016, the only thing that was difficult was just trying to find a way to earn money online, so we can come back here and then have to worry about, depending on the economy here.
Okay, and you kind of touched on that a bit, but could you talk? So what was the hardest thing about the move? Would you say? Like, what type of pointers would you give to folks?
Well, it really wasn't hard. Once we made up our mind to come, it was just executing. It wasn't really that hard. I guess the hardest thing that I've seen is probably getting rid of our stuff to get over here, but anything else, no. I think once you make the decision to move, you just execute on it. And that's what we did. Once we made the decision, we put a date in place. Once we got our finances together, we knew that we were going to be able to sustain ourselves while we were here. We made sure that our income, that we was receiving the income that we had in mind for at least 6 to 12 months. Once we saw that was coming 6 to 12 months, and we figured, okay, now we can make the move. We set a date, and from when we set that date, we just, we followed through.
All right. And what he said about getting rid of things, like, if you guys are planning on moving, that's one of the first things that you need to think about is selling off your car, selling off those books, those CDs. You need to think about that now, because you don't realize how much you have until you're trying to move.
That's true.
So that's something to keep in mind.
I brought a lot of CDs and a lot of old magazines.
Where are you playing CDs at?
Say again?
I said, where are you playing those CDs at?
They were just old CDs that I had all my Tupac and Master P stuff. I couldn't get rid of it. I just couldn't. Yeah.
And so another thing that people have to battle with, which is what I have to battle with leaving, is people don't understand why you're making a move, and you got family members that's kind of trying to deter you. Like, why are you moving over there to the third world? You're gonna get robbed or whatever. How does your family in the USA feel about you deciding to live abroad and permanently move outside the US?
Well, when we did it the first time, they were surprised because I didn't tell anybody, because of what you just said. I didn't want to hear anybody. I didn't even want to hear the doubts or people saying, "Why are you doing this?" I just up and did it. At that time I was grown, so I could do whatever I wanted to do. So the first time it was a shock to them. Then when we moved back, they understood that I wanted to come back at some point. So once we got everything together, and I said, "Hey, I'm heading back." It wasn't anything like, they wasn't surprised. They was okay.
Right.
And now they just want to come here and visit.
Right, and that's the next question. Like, how much do they visit you now that you're here?
My mom comes every year. Since I've been here, she comes every year. My sisters, I have two sisters. One hadn't been here yet, but one has been here twice. So, you know, when they come here, they want to do all the tourist things, and they don't know that I'm not on vacation. I actually live here, so you know, they expect, hey, what are we gonna do when we get there? And I asked my mom, well, my sister lives in Montgomery. Well, what does she do when you travel to Montgomery to see her? You know, you're just sitting in the house, but when they come here, they visit this tropical island, and oh, we got a beautiful
tour guide.
Exactly. So it's nice to have them come here, though. Right. You know.
So what is it? What do you like most about the Dominican Republic?
It's not one particular thing that I enjoy about being here. It's a combination of things, like the weather, the people, the food, the culture. So all that combined, lumped in one, is what I like. It's no one particular thing.
Okay. And I'm gonna get you in a little trouble here.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it that you least like about the Dominican Republic?
To be honest, I can go on I wouldn't say a rant, but I go on and talk about the petty things that, you know, may annoy me. But I know what a lot of people talk about, like the traffic and, people asking for money when you go. But to me, those things are not deal breakers to me. You know, the traffic doesn't bother me. I work from home, I get out in the traffic, I decide when I want to get out in the traffic. So it doesn't really bother me. I think the little small things I hear people complain about, to me, they're just petty. But for me, I think the only thing that's what I like least about it is that you have to pay a lot of import taxes on the things that, like if I want a laptop, it costs more. You know, so a lot of things that you buy that's imported, it costs more. So if I have to, like I need to get a laptop, I just can't go to, a store and get a laptop. I have to order it, and if I order it, then I got to pay import taxes on it. It just costs me more. So things like that is what I like least about it, paying extra on import taxes.
All right. So as far as like, I know that you have an affinity for Santo Domingo.
Mm-hmm.
So, why do you prefer Santo Domingo versus other parts of the island?
To me, Santo Domingo is the heartbeat of this island, to me, in my opinion. I tell people it's like the New York City of, Dominican Republic. Everything that happens here in Santo Domingo, and I think it spreads to everywhere else on the island. And me, for some reason, I just like to be in the middle every day. So I'm not really a beach guy. I mean, I like the beach. Even when we stayed in Florida for 5 years, we went to the beach maybe 3 or 4 times, maybe. So the beach is not my thing. I'm not really a nature type guy, so I don't need to, be in the nature. I'm more of a city type guy. I like to be in the city. I like the diversity of Santo Domingo. Other areas of the country that are city that has, that are a little more popular, to me, it's more tourism than it is culture. You do have places in those cities that do have some local culture in it, but most of it is tourism. Like Punta Cana is mostly tourism, Boca Chica's tourism, Puerto Plata's, Sosúa, all that's mostly tourism. Samana's a little bit more local culture, but it's a little tourism. But here in Santo Domingo, the tourism sector to me is very small versus all the local culture here.
Okay. And are you involved in any expat groups in here, like any WhatsApp groups, or?
I'm in one Facebook group, but.
So you don't really interact with the expat. You more hanging out with the locals. Is that what you're saying? Pretty much
more the locals.
Okay.
But since I've been on YouTube, I get people who reach out to me, and we hang out.
Okay. Okay. And what would you say about the cost of living? Based off of your experience living in Santo Domingo, like what would somebody realistically need, monthly to be able to live in the heart of the city, in New York, of the Dominican Republic, as you say?
Well, it really depends on where in Santo Domingo. You know, I tell people that there are many different levels of living here in Santo Domingo. Maybe 1 through 7. If you ask, you know, if you ask 7, 8, 9, 10 people, you know, what's the cost of living here, you're gonna get 10, 7, 8, 9, 10 different answers, depending on who you talk to. So it all depends on the type of lifestyle you want, you know, the conveniences that you need. For me, I'm half frugal and half bougie, so I need, some extra. And I would say, based on our lifestyle, it costs us about $2,400 a month. When I'm 100% bougie, it probably go up. But right now, it's about $2,400. So, and that's, you know, staying in a tower, you know, elevators, 24/7 concierge, security, 3 parking spaces, that type of lifestyle in the middle of the city.
Okay. And as far as safety in the Dominican Republic and Santo Domingo, like, do you feel that it's safe? And is there any safety tips that you want to offer? Because I know where I'm at, folks get knocked off every day. I'm in Colombia.
I know, yeah.
Spend time in Colombia, and it seems like nobody has a clue of how to stay safe.
Right.
So,
Well, they know how to stay safe. They just refuse to do it.
right.
Yeah. But here, I actually don't feel any danger here to me. I feel safer here than I did in the U.S. I'll say that. People say that it's unsafe. It depends on where you are. You know, it depends on, when you ask certain Dominicans, you know, if it's safe, then they'll tell you, you know, they'll give you their opinion, then you ask them where they live, and then you know where they live, and then you understand why they're saying. But where I live at, I don't feel any danger. Now, what I would say is that if I'm going out of my house and from my car to a certain area, you know, I'll have my watch on or whatever, and, you know, however. But if I'm just walking up to the pharmacia or to the grocery store or just walking in the neighborhood, I'm not gonna have anything. I'm just gonna look like a regular person. Nobody wants to rob somebody that looks like he don't have any money. So, but as far as danger, I mean, I think for me, I would go anywhere in the city. I don't feel that threat. And I would say tips for expats is, I know that, you know, some expats come here and, you know, they how I want to say it, they are obsessed with poverty porn. You know, where, you know, they're just obsessed at seeing poor neighborhoods and things like that, being around them. I just don't understand that. You know, I don't, you know, it's nothing against those areas, but I don't understand why you need to go and travel there and you know, just stay out of those areas. I mean, if you want to stay safe, stay out of those areas.
Okay, right. So you talked earlier about you started a business here in the DR. What tips would you give to foreigners that are thinking about starting a business here in the country?
I would say, number one, you know your product or service, know what that is, know where that market is, and, you know, find your team to help you execute that vision. Because I will say this, I'm sorry to interrupt, because when we came here, the type of restaurant we had was a wing spot. We sold wings. And one thing that we didn't do our market research. And the only thing I knew is I knew how to make good wings. That's all I knew. And when I was coming over here, I was saying that, oh man, they don't have anywhere I can get me some lemon pepper wings. You know, we always want them lemon pepper wings. They ain't have no garlic parmesan nowhere. And so I said, hey, I can bring them garlic parmesan and lemon pepper over here. And when I got here, the Dominicans didn't know anything about it. You know, the only thing they knew about was barbecue and just barbecue wings. Not really hot wings. So I didn't know the market. And now coming back 5 years later, everybody sells it down here. And it's crazy, me and my wife look around like, everybody sells this now, but nobody was selling it but us. And what we probably should have did was we probably should have went to a tourist area where, the name of my restaurant was called Metro Wings. If I'm in a tourist area and I have people from different, from the United States walk by and they see Metro Wings, I don't have to educate you on what that is. You already know I'm going to give you something of lemon pepper. But from a Dominican riding by and they're, unless they've been to the US, they don't understand what Metro Wings is. So it didn't register with them. So that was one of the mistakes we made, is that we didn't know our market. We didn't understand our customer. We just knew that, we had the product, the good product, but that didn't translate.
Did y'all have to deal with any employees, Dominican local employees?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how was that experience?
To be honest with you, it wasn't that bad. We didn't have an issue unless you remember the various. But we didn't have an issue of people being unreliable.
We're very creative.
Right. Well, here's what I said: when you have a business, you can't. In the States, when you're late, they give you those check marks and you get 3 of them. You won't have a work staff here. That's for sure.
So as far as, because I know you have a family, you have a child, what type of tips would you give to foreigners looking to, they have a family of young children that they want to bring down, how would you deal with that, and as far as schooling? Could you talk about that with your family?
As far as schooling, yes, we have a daughter, and she's taking online school, so she's not in school here at the moment. And the reason for that is because, like I said, we left in 2021. That was in the middle of the pandemic. So at that point in Florida, everybody was taking school online. So she was online. So when we ended up moving here, she was online to finish out the school year. And so when we actually got here and we started, getting planting our roots, we realized the type of business that, we have, her mom has, she does, YouTube, and has a variety of things that she has to do to move around, and also myself, that putting her in the school just wouldn't be, it wouldn't work as far as our lifestyle. So keeping her online where she's able to be flexible to move around when we need to move around, when we have to travel back to the US or another part of the island, it was better for her to stay online. But to kind of answer your question, I know some people who have kids here that's in school, and from what I hear, the international schools here are great, especially the ones here in Santo Domingo and Punta Cana. Yeah. They're expensive, but they're great. Yeah.
So, another question, and I know a lot of folks are thinking this about making this move, is your Spanish. How is your Spanish, and can you survive here without knowing Spanish?
Every time somebody asks me that, I say I'm 40%. I don't know where I get that from, but I'm just gonna stick with it. I'm about 40%. Because it doesn't sound like I know a lot, but it doesn't sound like I know that a little either, so I'll say 40%. I think you can make it here without Spanish, but you can't make it here without Spanish, meaning that
You need to know something.
you're gonna need, or know somebody that knows something. So you can make it here, but you can't survive totally without somebody speaking the language for you. So you yourself, if you don't know the language, then of course you're gonna need somebody to, there's certain processes and things that you're gonna encounter on your, throughout your journey here that you're gonna need somebody. When you go to the grocery store, you don't need it.
So, do you have because this is what happened to me, my little cousin in Panama,
Right.
they speak Spanish, and at that time I didn't speak nothing, and they would get mad at me when I say, come over here and translate for me.
Right.
I know you probably have that experience with your daughter. Is she fluent? She's
Yeah,
fluent?
my daughter is.
So you ask her to do some translating services for you every now and then?
Yes. yes. My daughter does help me when we're out. She helps me, and my wife does too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. So we're
Do
gonna have
you plan on becoming fluent?
Yeah. That didn't sound convincing, did it? I do.
The thing is, you made the same face on YouTube when you just asked that question.
Yeah.
You always do this little,
Because it's I still, my job requires me to continue to communicate in English, so it's kind of difficult for me to switch over. After all day I'm talking in English and this and that, then come back and then start talking in Spanish. But I keep saying that I'm gonna do it.
I just want to make sure I'm not alone in this.
No, you're not alone.
All right.
You know, it's a lot of people, actually, it's a lot of expats here that don't speak don't speak Spanish. And they get by pretty fine. But most of them, a lot of them stay in tourist areas too. So if you're in a tourist area, you really don't have to really learn it. But I wouldn't advise anyone to not learn the language. I think you need to know something to be able to get by.
And so we're gonna have a little fun here. So what's your favorite Dominican dish?
I would say, and if I got anybody from Puerto Rico in here, they're gonna say it's not Dominican, but I like mofongo. I like mofongo. And I know there's a Puerto Rican dish, but they eat it a lot here in Santo Domingo, in Dominican Republic. But a Dominican dish that I really like is lo Creole.
What is it?
Lo Creole.
Lo Creole.
Yeah, which is just chicken and rice.
Okay.
That's it.
And I know that you're a big cook. So can you actually prepare that dish?
No.
Are there any Dominican dishes that you can prepare, that you know how to prepare, that you say that you're a master at?
Mango.
To be honest with you, I have never tried. I mean, my wife always cooks the Dominican food, you know. So when it's time to cook Dominican food, I just leave it to the experts.
Okay. So what advice, would you give foreigners thinking about moving to DR? Like, what's the biggest piece of advice that you would give foreigners that are thinking about moving to the Dominican Republic?
And I would just preface this for Americans: leave your American mentality in America and bring it over to mine.
Yeah, that's a tough one. But after living in abroad and for a minute, you become more relaxed, more patient, and you're more forgiving, I guess, because they're going to make mistakes. They're going to take a little longer to do stuff, so you just got to flow with it. As Maria says, just flow.
I've noticed that, and I used to be that way. I used to let things bother me, but once I stopped letting the small things bother me,
That's right.
I started enjoying the place a lot more. Like, I get in traffic and, my wife would be, stumping her feet and I'm just whistling.
Yeah, at this point you laughing.
I'm laughing.
You laughing
at that part.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking, well, I don't have anywhere to be. I don't have no place I have to actually be, so why am I worried about sitting in traffic?
You're a visitor.
And you're a visitor,
Yeah.
right? And just because you're spending $2,500 a month, that don't mean you have that much influence on what's going to go on in this country, right? So you need to relax.
Right.
Yeah.
It's all about building a network, building friends, not enemies. So, if you could change anything about your experience, what would you change?
Not a damn thing.
Good deal.
And
So-
I say that because, every little experience, I've learned from. And, like Jim Rohn said, he said, you can change, you can learn through, joy and inspiration, or you can learn through pain and suffering. And so, but either way, you're gonna learn. So, does any audience members, conference attendees, any of you guys have any questions? We're gonna open up the floor to you guys if you have any
You did a
questions.
great
to
job,
ask.
Omar. Great job.
Thank you. Did I do a good Arsenio impression?
You did an amazing job.
Let me just tell you, this conference could have never. He got to sit with James. He was going to come down. It could have right now. You remember
I don't know why you messing with me on this subject.
I owe you that, honey. No, but I just want to say one thing. James provided us with gems in this interview. He said many things that really, if you apply it, it would make the experience of transitioning completely different. Okay, I would dare say smoother. Like when he talks about acclimating to the country and not coming with a critical attitude, you know.
Amen.
I see that all the time. 90% of my clients have an attitude, and I love this particular phrase, that's not how they do it in the US. I'm like, newsflash, you're in a different country. The last time I checked, you had to pay a plane ticket and cross the Atlantic. You're in a different country, so just let go of that. You know, that's the kind of attitude that doesn't let people appreciate the good things about the DR, so you have to come with an open mind. The other thing I like about his Tupac CDs, let me tell you something, guys. Getting used to a new country doesn't mean you have to forget your roots. Because I'm going to tell you something right now. I will never do wicker furniture. You hear me? Ever. I don't do wicker. Okay, so even though you're relocating, for those of you who are planning to do that, you can still hold on to your roots, your music, your furniture, how you like to furnish a place, you know? I happen to like, what's the name of that catalog? My goodness, in the US, I forgot all that, it's been 20 years.
JCPenney?
No, and you need to leave this conference right now. Get them.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of the place. It was a catalog. I used to get it every week. Anyway, it'll come back to me. But when I furnish my house, I still, you know, have my taste of how I furnish back home. You know, so it seems like you're in the States. So you can still hold on to your roots, to your music, you know, and still appreciate the Dominican culture. Because some people is like, now it's all about cha-cha and merengue, and maybe that's not you. So, and then the other thing I appreciated about the interview, common sense people. You can't go to a bad neighborhood, start counting cash in public, and think nothing's gonna happen. Yeah. When you call things to happen to you because you're not exercising good judgment, you can't blame the country for that.
Right.
Okay.
You can do that in the United States.
I'm telling you,
And all of the folks that be having
they come
problems.
here and start doing things they never do back home. It's like, you know.
And when something happens to them, they don't tell the whole story. They don't tell that they were in the hood.
You know, this man married a man that he knows for 15 years. They have a very good relationship. But if you're gonna marry somebody you met 2 months ago and you don't speak the language, you have to expect what's coming next. So all of a sudden, it's not the DR out to get foreigners. You have to exercise, and we talk about this, right? Omar and I went on a rant for about an hour in our YouTube channel. We went off. And so this interview is from an expat who's actually living here, married to a Dominican, and lives a very good life, okay? So these are the interviews you should look at. These are the people you should talk to with the right mental attitude, okay? You want to be careful that your due diligence doesn't lead you to people, you know, that just, they don't have the right attitude. They're not approaching relocation from a realistic point of view. Okay, and then you're like, oh, well, maybe that's not the country for me. No, it's not the country for the person you're talking to. It may be the perfect country for you. So, thank you, James. This was awesome.
Any
Any
questions?
other questions?
Who do you notice yourself spending more time with? Dominicans or Americans when you live down here?
Dominicans.
Yeah.
And one reason is because here in Santo Domingo, the expat community is a little bit spread out. It's more concentrated in tourist sections like Puerto Plata. There's a lot of expats just concentrated in one area. Here in Santo Domingo, they're so spread out, so it's kind of hard to get to them. And then they don't even make themselves known as much. I think a lot of people like to just stay to themselves.
Man, he threw the gauntlet down when he asked that question.
That's it.
James, share your YouTube channels.
Oh,
All of them.
all of them.
Yes.
All right, so I'm on YouTube. Me and my wife, between us, we have 4 channels. Her channel is Nefarious R, where the first one we started, where she talks about all the Dominican culture and life in Dominican Republic. She recently started another channel that's in Spanish, in all Spanish, because people were asking her, hey, can you give me this information, the same information in Spanish? So she recently started that channel about 4 weeks ago. She just crossed the 1,000 subscriber mark, about to get that channel monetized, so congratulations to her on that one. And I started YouTube with a cooking channel. Like I was telling you guys, I had my wings, and when I went back to Fort Lauderdale, I was like, hey, I want to do something. I like what I was doing, so let me just create a channel around my wings.
Yo, can you bring these wings tomorrow, man? I want to try some of the things you're talking about.
So the name of that channel is All Wings Everything. It has about 220,000 subscribers on that one. And then I recently did a spin-off of my wife's channel. I got my own. It's called J Abroad. So it's from my perspective of living here as an expat in Dominican Republic.
Yeah, that channel is really good. I watch everything that comes on that channel. It is very, very good.
Thank you.
So hit that like button, subscribe.
It's really good. And I have to say, for me to watch a YouTube channel, I don't even watch myself. Yeah, clap for the man.